Discover how a hidden encounter at a billionaire's table changed a cleaner-s life in just 30 days. Clara Hartman woke before dawn, the city still draped in the darkness of night. She moved like a shadow through her tiny apartment, where the air smelled of burnt toast and laundry soap. The rhythmic sound of her children stirring from their sleep filled her heart with warmth. "Mommy," shouted little Max, his bright eyes sparkling even in the dim light. Lydia, a few years older, clutched her stuffed bear, rubbing sleep from her eyes. It was a daily act, choreographed along the edges of chaos. Clara's hands flew, dressing them, packing lunchboxes while mentally preparing herself for hours of scrubbing floors in the city that never slept. Every morning felt like a race against time and her own exhaustion. Yet there was something invigorating about it, a fierce determination that sang in her bones. She craved the American dream for her children, something she never had, not the fancy houses or cars, but real opportunities. The weight of life pressed hard against her chest, but she pushed through. Bills stacked high, laughter echoed through dinner, and pride wrapped around her like a comforting shawl. Then one fateful evening, Clara's world tilted unexpectedly while cleaning a luxury hotel. In the midst of the gala's glitzy chaos, she collided with Ethan Summers. A reclusive billionaire known for his heart but rarely seen in public, he was an unassuming figure, cloaked in a dark suit. Their eyes met, and in that moment, the noise of the crowd faded, leaving only an unspoken understanding. Clara was just a cleaner, an invisible figure in this opulence, but shockwaves of possibility reverberated between them. The encounter left Clara breathless. Her pulse raced while the laughter and chatter of well-heeled guests echoed around her. She felt like a mismatched piece of a puzzle, and yet somehow, for just that moment, she belonged. But reality clawed back, dragging her into a spiraling pit of thoughts. Could a job at his company rumored to be opening up be the ticket out of this routine life? Yet, was it worth betraying the supportive employer who had stood by her all these years? A heavy doubt settled in her heart. All around her, people whispered and judged. They saw her as just a cleaner, nothing more. But she was so much more, a mother, a dreamer clinging to hope amidst criticism. That night was the start of sleepless struggles, swirling uncertainties about her worth, and what sacrifices she might have to make for her children's future. Just when despair threatened to consume her, she met Jack, a local veteran with a weathered face and an old heart full of wisdom. His raw words rumbled through the corners of her mind. "You gotta know your worth, Clara. You're fighting for them. Don't let fear chain you down." With every word, his voice coaxed life back into her dreams. Facing her next decisions felt like a tightrope walk. But then, during a gala at Ethan's invitation, Clara grabbed the courage bursting inside her. She stood, heart racing, before the opulent crowd. "We are more than our jobs," she declared, her voice rising. The room hushed, captivated by her bold words. "Every one of us carries a story. And it's time to recognize that." Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. The room buzzed with energy, awestruck faces staring back, their disbelief mingling with admiration. Clara felt alive in that moment. A fire ignited within her as she challenged societal biases head-on. Yet, as applause washed over her, a shadow loomed. Would she have the strength to seize this new life? Her heart pounded, swirling between fear and destiny. Her journey was just beginning, and the questions loomed larger than ever. Would the city's dreams finally align for a single mother, or would she slip back into the shadows once more? The applause faded into a soft murmur, a gentle wave of disbelief washing over the room. Clara felt the thrill of her moment, yet the realization struck. What now? She stood there, breathless, her heart racing like a hummingbird's wings. Ethan's eyes locked onto hers, a spark of recognition flickering between them. It was a moment she'd never forget, but reality was creeping back in. Suddenly, a well-dressed woman approached, her expression a mix of confusion and curiosity. "Excuse me, but I couldn't help but overhear. What did you mean?" Her voice was polite, but Clara could sense the judgment underneath. A quick glance around the room revealed a web of keen eyes, each one scrutinizing her as if trying to decode a secret. Clara swallowed hard. "I just mean we can do more than what society thinks of us," she replied, her voice steadying with newfound strength. "Everyone here has a purpose beyond what their job is. We each have a story worth telling." The woman nodded, still puzzled, but Clara could see a hint of intrigue sparking in her gaze. Behind her, Lydia and Max sat wide-eyed, their little faces illuminated with pride. Clara's heart swelled. She thought of their future, the choices they would have, and how different their lives could be if she took this leap. But that leap came with shadows. What would happen tomorrow? What would happen if she actually got that job? Could she leave her current employer without guilt? Emotions clashed within her like a storm, hope against fear, ambition against loyalty. Ethan moved closer, his presence solid and calm. "You made an impact tonight, Clara," he said, his voice low and sincere. "I admire your courage." She looked up at him, her chest tightening. Was there something more between them? Or was it professional admiration? She felt vulnerable yet inspired. Then Jack's words came rushing back, "Know your worth." It was time, wasn't it? Time to make that choice, to claim her story, step into the light, just like she had urged the crowd to do. "Ethan," she said, the words spilling from her lips, "I'd love to speak to you about potential job opportunities." She felt weightless, every word a small act of rebellion against the limitations she had been drowning in. For the first time, she wasn't just a cleaner. She was Clara Hartman, a mother with dreams, a woman ready to rise. Ethan's expression softened, as if he saw her for more than her role, and brightly lit the path before him. "Let's talk tomorrow," he said, sincerity wrapping around his words like a warm hug. The enormity of the moment crashed into her. Tomorrow could change everything. Clara returned home that night, her children asleep, but her heart wide awake. The walls of the little apartment felt less like a cage and more like the beginning of something beautiful. She lay awake, staring at the ceiling, counting the stars in her mind. What if tomorrow changed her life forever? Yet as she thought about the possibilities, a nagging doubt crept back in. What would she sacrifice to reach for a dream? And would her children be better off, or would they feel abandoned? In the stillness of the night, she found herself teetering on the edge of change. The weight of her choices filled the air. Tomorrow loomed with promise and uncertainty, and she knew she had to face it head-on. Would she muster the strength to embrace her future, or would she retreat back to the shadows? The sun peeked through the curtains, casting warm stripes across Clara's face. She woke with a jolt, heart pounding as the memories of the night before flooded her mind. Ethan's smile, the applause, the moment she stepped into her truth, it all felt surreal, like a vivid dream she wasn't ready to let go of. She quickly glanced at the clock. Panic surged. The kids would be waking up any minute. With the hustle and bustle of the morning routine ahead, Clara pushed her thoughts of potential interviews to the back of her mind. Today was about getting through breakfast and school drop-off, a necessary rhythm she had mastered. "Mom, I'm hungry," Lydia yelled from her bedroom, her voice breaking the silence like a bell ringing in a quiet church. "Coming," Clara called back, throwing on a worn sweater that smelled like home. As she entered the kitchen, she caught glimpses of Max dragging his stuffed dinosaur across the floor. The simple sight of them brought a smile to her face, despite the storm brewing in her heart. She poured cereal into bowls, starting their breakfast assembly line. With each clink of the spoon against the bowl, she tried to focus on the present. But thoughts of that meeting with Ethan kept creeping back in, dragging her into daydreams that made her giddy and nauseous all at once. Had she really made the right choice? "Do you want to go to the zoo this weekend?" she asked, hoping to redirect her own anxious energy. "Can we see the lions?" Max's eyes lit up, his mouth full of cereal. "Of course!" Lions and tigers and bears, Clara mused, a smile dancing on her lips. Oh my, Lydia finished, giggling. As they enjoyed breakfast, Clara felt weight lifting off her shoulders. Her children's laughter wrapped around her like a warm blanket, reminding her why she wanted more out of life. They were her reason, her motivation. After drop-off, the world outside was a blur of motion cars rushing by, people walking with purpose, all part of a dance she felt distant from. Was she really ready to step into that dance? She clutched her phone, heart racing at the thought of contacting Ethan. With a deep breath, Clara reminded herself of her reflection last night beneath those stars. You can do this. She glanced at her reflection in a shop window, disheveled hair, shadowed eyes. But the spark in her gaze was undeniable. With a flick of her thumb, she sent Ethan a quick message, looking forward to our chat today. Almost instantly, her phone buzzed. She opened the reply, holding her breath. Me too. How about 3 p.m. at my office? Clara blinked, excitement battling with anxiety. A real meeting was just hours away. She needed to prepare, to put her doubts aside and focus on the possibilities. The rest of the day felt like a kaleidoscope of emotions, anticipation mixed with fear. As she sat in a cafe waiting for Ethan, she noticed her hands shaking slightly. She ordered coffee, relishing the aroma as it enveloped her. But what if the opportunity led her away from her children? What if, in chasing this dream, she lost sight of what mattered most? Her heart raced as she thought of the conversation ahead. Would he see her potential? Would he understand her fears? Clara? A voice broke her thoughts, and she looked up to see Ethan standing there, smiling with that trademark sincerity. Before she could speak, he added, I'm excited to hear your ideas. And, just like that, her heart felt fuller. But as they sat down, Clara noticed an unusual edge in Ethan's demeanor, a glimmer of something that suggested he knew more than he let on, something she hadn't considered yet. She was about to dive into a conversation that could alter her life, but a nagging feeling clung to her. What was he not telling her? Clara took a deep breath, the air thick with anticipation. Ethan's eyes, warm and inviting, seemed to urge her forward. She could almost hear the clock ticking, counting down the seconds until she would either cement her future or let it slip away. So, Clara, he began, his voice smooth like honey, let's talk about your vision. Her throat tightened, butterflies flitted in her stomach, but she pushed through. I've been thinking about how to integrate environmental responsibility into everyday products. You know, making them affordable and accessible. She remembered the stories she had read about entrepreneurs who transformed their ideas into movements and felt a pulse of hope surge within her. Ethan nodded, a spark lighting in his eyes. That's something we definitely need more of in this world. Have you thought about how to market it? Clara hesitated, battling the fear whispering in the back of her mind. I've jotted down a few ideas and concepts, but they feel scattered. I guess I'm worried about the feasibility. Her words trailed off as doubt crept in. Ethan leaned forward, his interest palpable. Clara, the best ideas often start messy. It's how you shape them that counts. Let us brainstorm together. His words were like a lifeline, pulling her back into the moment and draining the negativity away. As ideas flew between them, she felt her confidence slowly filling the space where doubt had lingered. Ethan's enthusiasm was contagious, igniting a sense of purpose in her, making the once intangible dream feel so much closer. They bounced suggestions back and forth, layering practicality onto the dream until a solid idea began to emerge. But even as they connected, Clara couldn't shake the feeling of Ethan's underlying tension. Each moment spent in his presence felt electric, yet heavy, as if the room contained unsaid thoughts, unshared secrets. Why would a successful entrepreneur like him spend time with an ordinary woman like herself? She could sense there was more to him, perhaps insecurities and fears that mirrored her own. Clara, he said, pulling her back from her musings, tell me why this matters to you. The question struck her with unexpected force. She took a moment, gathering her emotions. I want my kids to grow up in a healthier world. I want them to see that change is possible. That anyone, even someone like me, can make a difference. Tears pricked her eyes, but she blinked them back, grounding herself in her resolve. "I get that," Ethan said, his voice softer. "You have such a strong voice. We need that in this industry." Clara smiled, feeling seen and valued. But then the glimmer she had seen before flashed in his gaze again, pulling her focus. "What about you, Ethan? Why do you care?" He paused, eyes flickering as if deciding whether to share. "Sometimes I feel trapped by expectations. People see the surface, the success, but underneath it's complicated." He frowned, a shadow crossing his face. "Complicated how?" The question slipped out before she could stop herself. He hesitated, then met her gaze. "Let us just say, there are commitments that bind me." His smile returned, but it didn't reach his eyes. Clara's heart raced. What commitments? What was he holding back? Just then, the cafe door swung open, a wave of fresh air cutting through the atmosphere and awakening her senses. Ethan shifted, glancing at his phone. "Time flies when you're creating magic," he remarked, but there was something distant in his tone. Clara felt a twinge of urgency. She was so close to uncovering the truth behind Ethan's guardedness, but was this meeting the right time? Would she risk pushing too hard? "Can we set up another meeting to dive deeper into this?" she asked, trying to gauge his comfort level. He met her gaze, and for an instant, she thought she saw genuine eagerness, coupled with uncertainty. "I would like that." As they exchanged details, Clara's heart thundered with potential. But what was he hiding? What would that hidden truth mean for her aspirations? With a final smile, they parted, but her mind buzzed, the meeting leaving more questions than answers. Would the hidden layers of Ethan's life unravel as their partnership blossomed? What if his commitments could threaten everything she hoped to build? Clara stepped outside the cafe, the brisk air filling her lungs with a chaotic mix of hope and anxiety. She could still feel the warmth of Ethan's smile, the weight of his words hanging in the air like unfinished business. The streets bustled around her, but she only half-registered the sounds of the city. Her mind replayed their conversation, dissecting each moment, each glance that hinted at Ethan's guarded soul. What did he mean by commitments that bind me? It gnawed her. She quickly pulled out her phone and jotted down notes in her half-finished planner, urgency propelling her scribbles as she tried to organize her thoughts. She had to get it right. This was the start of something important, not just for her, but potentially for the world. She wrestled with uncertainty. The prospect of setting up another meeting excited her, yet the lingering doubt about Ethan's deeper issues pulled her back. Would their connection weather the storm of his secrets? Could she untangle the complicated threads of his life while weaving her own dreams into reality? As she walked, her surroundings blurred into a haze. She passed the park where she used to take her kids on lazy weekend afternoons. The laughter of children echoed in her mind, coaxing a smile to her face amid her worries. She longed for a world where children could play freely without the weight of environmental degradation. This was her mission. Suddenly, Clara felt a vibration in her pocket, pulling her from her daydreams. It was a message from Ethan. "Hey Clara, I've been thinking. What if we took this in a new direction? Let us meet tomorrow, same time?" Her heart raced. The flicker of curiosity in his voice ignited her ambition. "Yes, let us do this." She quickly typed back. The anticipation made her giddy, a shot of adrenaline coursing through her veins. That evening, she gathered her kids for dinner, trying her best to focus on them despite her swirling thoughts about tomorrow. Lily, her youngest, colored at the table while Alex, her teenager, thumbed through his phone, occasionally glancing at his sister with a bemused smile. The sight warmed her heart, but the tug of her aspirations lingered like a ghost at the edge of her mind. "Mom, are you okay? You seem distracted," Alex finally said, breaking her focus. "Just thinking about some changes I want to make," Clara replied, her voice steadier than she felt. She knew they needed to understand her dream, but she wasn't ready to reveal everything yet. "More changes? You've been on this kick for a while now." He chuckled. "What is next? Eco-friendly school lunches." Clara laughed, but her heart surged with determination. "Maybe. You never know where inspiration will take you." Her words hung in the air, and she felt a weight lift momentarily. It wasn't just about her ambitions, she wanted to inspire them too. After the kids went to bed, Clara sat alone in the dim light of the kitchen, a cup of tea warming her hands. She flipped through her planner, scribbling ideas and mapping out goals. But beneath the surface, a current of unease still thrummed. Tomorrow could either strengthen her resolve or shake her foundation. As she contemplated her vision, her phone buzzed again. It was a news alert about a corporate scandal involving one of Ethan's business partners. Oh no, she whispered to herself, a chill racing down her spine. This couldn't be the kind of commitment he was bound to, could it? Her heart sank. Could this news change everything? Clara barely slept that night, her mind a whirlpool of thoughts and sleepless anxieties. The next day, she found herself on a familiar path, the cafe looming closer. The stakes felt higher than ever, and she couldn't help wondering if she was stepping into a whirlwind. What truths would unfold in their next meeting? What hidden secrets might alter their budding partnership, or worse, uncover vulnerabilities that could ruin everything she hoped to achieve? As Clara walked toward the cafe, each step felt weighted, as if the ground beneath her was demanding her full attention. The bustling sidewalks seemed to slice her thoughts into shards. She wrapped her arms around herself, wishing for comfort while battling the canyons of doubt. How could just a simple meeting shift the trajectory of her life, and what else would she discover about Ethan? The bell above the cafe door jingled, breaking her reverie as she stepped inside. The familiar scent of freshly brewed coffee, mixed with the sweetness of pastries, washed over her, a brief distraction from her gnawing worries. She scanned the room, her heart racing when she spotted Ethan at their usual table, a pensive expression on his face. Today he looked more vulnerable than before, the shadows under his eyes deepening as he sat with a coffee already cooling before him. "Hey," she said, forcing a smile, though uncertainty lurked in the corners of her mind. "Hey, Clara," he replied, his voice smooth, but laced with gravity. "Thanks for coming." They settled into their seats, the air thick with anticipation. As they exchanged small talk, Clara felt an underwater current. It was a dance of familiarity and trepidation. She couldn't shake off the unease that gnawed at her insides. "Did you see the news about the scandal?" Ethan asked abruptly, a flicker of concern crossing his face. Clara took a deep breath. "I did. I'm guessing it involves your partner?" He nodded, the weight of 1,000 thoughts pressing against him. "We've shared a vision for a cleaner future, but there are things I wish I could erase from my past. I've been trying to distance myself from that world. This scandal just adds another layer." As he spoke, Clara felt a mix of empathy and fear. The intricate web of secrets began to unfurl before her eyes. "What exactly do you mean by commitments that bind you?" She pressed, her heart pounding. He hesitated, glancing around as if the walls were eavesdropping. "Some decisions were made long before I understood their impact. I'm at a crossroads between my past and what I really want to pursue. I want my future to align with my ideals, but I worry that my past will catch up with me." Clara's mind raced. This was no casual meeting about environmental projects. He was confessing to something that could rock the foundation of their partnership. "Ethan, if we're going to make a difference together, you have to trust me. I need to know everything, every part of your journey that shaped you." His gaze fell to the table, his fingers tracing the rim of his coffee cup. "You might not want to walk this path if you knew everything," he muttered, almost to himself. "Try me," Clara encouraged gently, desperation spilling into her words. This was what she had asked for, a chance to unravel the fabric of their destinies together. Suddenly, the cafe door swung open. A flurry of noise and movement burst in, completely reshaping the atmosphere. Clara's focus darted to the group of high-powered executives entering, their conversation carrying an air of authority and tension. Ethan paled, as though he recognized someone. "I have to go, what do you mean?" Clara's voice rose, panicking at the sudden shift. "We'll have to continue this later," he murmured, shooting a glance at the approaching group. "I'll text you. We need to talk more about everything." "I promise." His urgency stung Clara. She felt a burning passion for their cause, but it was mingled with frustration and fear. As Ethan slipped away, she couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning of a storm that could tear apart the delicate trust they were building. And as she watched him disappear into the crowd, a part of her wondered, would he come back? What secrets remained locked away, and were they worth the risk? Clara sat in the cafe, feeling the weight of Ethan's sudden departure. The moment he slipped away, time seemed to halt, the world around her muffled like a distant echo. She stared at the cooling coffee, its surface rippling slightly under the influence of her restless thoughts. It felt like the entire atmosphere had shifted, making her pulse quicken with dread. What had Ethan seen? Who were those people? The executives had walked in like they owned the place, their laughter sharp and commanding. The tension radiating from Ethan had been palpable. He had seemed so ready to share everything, only for it to vanish in an instant. Everything okay? A soft voice broke through her daze. It was Mia, a barista she had come to know well over many visits. She glanced at Clara, concern etched across her face. "Yeah, just a lot on my mind," Clara replied, forcing a smile that felt too heavy. Mia nodded, but her eyes held a glimmer of understanding. "You know, sometimes stepping back can help. A little perspective." "Yeah, maybe," Clara murmured, her thoughts swirling. She needed to figure this out. Was it right to push Ethan for answers? She couldn't shake the feeling that his past was entwined with something dangerous, possibly even illegal. After a few more moments of uncomfortable silence, Clara gathered her belongings. The table was cluttered with empty sugar packets and dessert crumbs, but nothing felt comforting anymore. She had to move. The cafe walls felt like they were closing in on her. Stepping outside, the crisp air hit her face, breathing life back into her. She walked aimlessly for a few blocks, each step grounding her in reality. The street was alive with chatter and the sounds of the city swirling around her, but her mind was far away, anchored to Ethan. Then, as she paused at a crosswalk, her phone buzzed. Her heart leapt. "Ethan." She opened the message, her breath catching when she read the words, "Meet me at the park in an hour." "I need to explain. Please trust me." Trust. It was a fragile thing, but she could feel it uncoiling within her. Maybe this was the moment where everything would come to light. As she made her way to the park, anxiety twisted in her gut. What if he didn't come back? What if this was all a mistake? The sunlight had begun to dip lower in the sky as she approached the park, casting long shadows over the manicured lawns. Clara found a bench near the fountain, her heart racing. She wanted to be calm, she needed to be strong. Her mind wandered to the question that had haunted her since their cafe meeting. What secrets did Ethan hold? Minutes slipped by, the stillness around her punctuated by the sound of children laughing and dogs barking. She scanned the pathway, waiting for a glimpse of Ethan. Her thoughts spiraled. What if he showed up and the truth was more than she could bear? Then, she caught sight of him. Not alone. There was a woman beside him, tall and confident. They were deep in conversation, and even from a distance, Clara could see the way the woman leaned in slightly, as if seeking Ethan's attention in a way that made Clara's heart sink. Ethan looked conflicted. He glanced toward Clara, his expression shifting to one of regret. The woman noticed, her gaze sharp. Clara's stomach twisted. This was not the reunion she'd envisioned. Taking a deep breath, Clara steeled herself. She had to understand. She had to know. So she stood up from the bench, her determination coiling inside her, and stepped towards Ethan, ready to confront whatever awaited her. Secrets were meant to be uncovered no matter the cost. And as she made her way to him, a new tension surged within her. What would she learn? Would Ethan's truth ultimately bring them closer or tear them apart? Clara approached slowly, each step heavier than the last. The laughter of children faded into white noise, her focus tightening on Ethan and the mysterious woman beside him. She should have felt anger. Maybe betrayal. Instead, a tide of uncertainty surged within her, mingling with hope that maybe, somehow, this could still turn out all right. "Ethan," she called out, her voice breaking through the air like glass shattering. Both heads turned. Ethan's face was a canvas of surprise, mixed with a shadow of guilt like he had just been caught doing something he shouldn't. The woman beside him straightened, assessing Clara with a measured gaze. Clara, Ethan said, taking a hesitant step nearer. Who is she? Clara interrupted, her throat tight. The words spilled out before she could stop them. She felt raw, vulnerable, like a wound laid bare under the harsh light. This is Zoe, Ethan said finally, his eyes darting between the two women. Yes, Zoe Simpson, the woman interjected smoothly, extending her hand toward Clara. There was a confidence in Zoe's smile, a kind of self-assuredness that made Clara feel even smaller. Great to meet you. Clara hesitated, not wanting to take the offered hand. What was she supposed to say? Nice to meet you, lady who's stealing my boyfriend? Ethan seemed to sense the tension, his brow furrowing. Clara, please. Can we talk? What is going on? Clara took a deep breath, rallying her courage. Why did you want to meet me here? Zoe stepped back, sensing the rising storm. I'll just give you a moment, she said, her tone neutral but unmistakably dismissive. As she walked away, Clara felt the distance stretching like a chasm between her and Ethan. His expression softened, but the look in his eyes was something she couldn't place. Regret? Fear? Clara, I'm sorry for how that looked, he started, his voice low. Zoe's work-related. She's an associate I've been dealing with. Dealing with? Clara repeated, unable to mask the hurt in her voice. You didn't mention anything about her before now. I see her practically clinging to you. Ethan reached for her hand, but Clara pulled back. What is this? Is this about business, or is there something else going on? Nothing else. I promise. His eyes were earnest, pleading. I need you to believe me. Believe you? Clara felt a bubble of frustration building. You vanished without a word, Ethan. At a cafe full of strangers, you seemed terrified. And now, you show up with someone who makes me feel like I'm not even here. Silence enveloped them. Clara's heart thundered in her chest, every beat echoing her inner turmoil. She wanted answers, but dreaded the truth that might surface if she pushed too hard. Ethan took a deep breath, his voice steady as he spoke. There's something I didn't tell you about my job. About why I was so nervous earlier. What are you saying? She pressed, feeling the weight of her next intake of breath, anxiety pricking at her. Before he could finish, a sudden commotion erupted nearby. Clara turned to see a man in a sharp suit arguing with a group of people, the tension thick in the air. The moment felt charged, and for an instant, a shared panic connected her and Ethan. Clara, please, Ethan urged again. There's so much at stake here. What do you mean stake? What are you involved in? Despite the distractions, Clara was laser-focused on the man who seemed on the verge of exploding. There's something dangerous. I got mixed up, and Ethan paused, the weight of his words echoing between them like a tidal wave ready to crash. And it's not just about business anymore. Her heart sank at the implication, her mind racing with worst-case scenarios. The stakes were rising, and with them, her own trepidation. As she looked back at him, a mix of confusion and fear settled in. What did you get yourself into, Ethan? The air crackled with an urgency that felt heavy. The man in the suit suddenly turned their way, and Clara sensed something crucial was about to unfold. Ethan opened his mouth to respond, but would she even be ready for what came next? The truth loomed ahead. A revelation hanging by a thread. Would it be light or darkness that awaited them both? Clara's breath hitched as she watched the man in the suit pivot toward them, his expression a mix of fury and desperation. She could feel the electrical charge in the air, an instinctive response that thrummed with uncertainty. Ethan's eyes darted from her to the man and back, panic flaring on his face. He started, but the man was already striding toward them, each step weighted with purpose. Ethan, the man snapped, his voice sharp as shards of glass. We need to leave. Now. Wait, Caleb, Ethan said, raising a shaking hand. You don't understand. This is Clara. She needs to know. Clara's heart raced. Why was Ethan so adamant? What could be so critical that he was willing to draw attention to himself in front of a stranger who clearly seemed dangerous? Are you serious? You want to explain your mess to her now? Caleb's voice practically dripped with disbelief. You're playing with fire and you're bringing her into it? Ethan's jaw clenched, the tension in his frame reaching a breaking point. She deserves the truth, Caleb. Suddenly, Clara felt an overwhelming impulse to act. She was standing on the edge of something significant, and she couldn't just let Ethan drown in whatever storm was brewing. She stepped forward, drawing more of Caleb's gaze. "Just tell me what's going on," she demanded, her voice steadier than she felt. The words rang out unfiltered, even as her stomach churned with unease. Caleb hesitated, studying her with narrowed eyes. "This isn't just about your boyfriend's job, sweetheart. It's much bigger than that. He's made choices that could put both of you in serious danger." Clara's heart raced, and for a moment, the world shrank to just the two of them standing in that overwhelming moment. A part of her wanted to retreat, to walk away from this chaos, but Ethan stood at her side, and there was something in his gaze that anchored her. "What choices? What did you get yourself into?" Her voice was fierce, demanding answers. Ethan faced her, desperation lining his expression. "Clara, I swear to you, I never meant for this to happen. I just wanted to secure a better life for us," he said, his voice breaking. "But I got involved with people who don't play by the rules." A chill ran through Clara, realization settling like ice over her spine. "What do you mean by people who don't play by the rules?" "Money laundering, Clara," Ethan admitted, his words breaking painfully through the air. "Big money, dangerous connections. I didn't know who I was dealing with, and now, you've put both our lives at risk," Caleb finished, anger lacing his tone. Clara felt her world tilt. Everything she'd known about Ethan now hung by a thread, fraying under the weight of secrets spilling out like a torrent. She clasped her hands tightly, trying to center herself. "Why didn't you tell me?" she demanded, hurt spilling over. "Why keep me in the dark?" He reached for her again, but she stepped back. "Don't. Just don't." The betrayal cut deep, and her voice trembled with unshed emotion. Just then, the arguing group nearby shifted, and a woman with striking features stepped into the fray. She was all business, her demeanor cold and calculating. Clara didn't recognize her, but she could feel the intensity radiating from her as she scanned the chaotic scene. "Caleb, we're wasting time," the woman said. "Let us go. Now." Clara's instincts flared, a part of her urging to understand more. "Wait. Who are you?" The woman's lips curled into a small, cunning smile. "I think you're about to find out just how deep this rabbit hole goes." And with that, the excitement shifted, the stakes elevated. The tension slithered between them like a live wire, and Clara's heart pounded in her chest. Ethan looked between Clara and the new arrival, fear etched in every line of his face. "Clara, I can explain, just give me a moment." But as they stared into each other's eyes, Clara couldn't help but wonder if this was the last shot she had at understanding the truth, or if this new player had simply added another layer of chaos to an already spiraling situation. What was about to unfold? And could she trust the man she thought she knew? The air thickened with uncertainty, and Clara felt she was standing at the edge of a precipice, teetering between love and fear. The moment hung heavy, and she knew there was no turning back. Would she be able to face the deeper truth that awaited her? Clara's heart pounded as she faced the chaotic scene. Suddenly, everything felt so uncertain. The air crackled with tension as Caleb and the mysterious woman exchanged determined glances. Clara stood frozen, battling confusion and fear, the weight of Ethan's secrets suffocating her. "Clara, I swear I never wanted any of this," Ethan pleaded, his voice shaking. Clara's vision blurred with emotion as memories of laughter, hope, and dreams of a bright future flashed before her mind. All of it now felt tainted, overshadowed by the chaos of Ethan's choices. "Then why didn't you trust me?" Clara whispered, fighting tears. "I was ready to support your vision, but you've kept me in the dark. You've involved me without even telling me. Because I was trying to protect you. Protect us." His desperation soared, but all Clara felt was disappointment and betrayal. Shadows clouded the joy she had felt when meeting him. Caleb pulled Ethan aside, his voice hushed but urgent. Clara leaned in slightly, straining to catch a fragment of their conversation. "You need to cut ties with this. It's spiraling beyond your control, Caleb urged, concern lining his features. Ethan glanced back at Clara, anguish etched across his face. I won't let this ruin us, he said softly, but she could see the fear lurking behind his resolve. Is that why you wanted me to meet you today? Because everything was crashing down? She dropped her voice, her anger mixing with a heavy heart. How could you think that would protect me? Clara, please, Ethan's eyes implored her, full of a depth she hadn't realized before. I need your help. Together we can find a way out of this mess. His vulnerability struck her deep. Clara drew in a shaky breath. A wave of understanding flooded through her. Did they have a choice? If they kept their guard down, perhaps they could work through this storm together. But the news suggested something bigger was at play. I don't know if I can trust you anymore, she admitted, her voice barely a whisper. She turned to the woman, who had stepped closer, shoulders tense like a predator ready to pounce. Who are you really? With a smirk, the woman stepped forward. Let's just say I deal with problems, ones that require solid solutions. And right now, I suggest you both listen. Listen to what? Clara's heartbeat echoed in her ears. She wanted clarity, not threats. The agency has eyes on Ethan's associates. If they find out he's gone rogue, it won't just be business at stake. It could cost you both everything, including your lives. The woman's tone was ice cold, sending chills down Clara's spine. I won't let any of this happen. I'll fix it, Ethan declared, an urgency spilling from him like a dam breaking. Clara saw his spirit flicker, his determination rising. Ethan, Clara intervened sharply, but at what cost? You're talking about people who've clearly gotten in too deep. You can't just I have to. His gaze met hers, emotions pouring forth like sunlight breaking through a storm. You deserve a future. Our family deserves it too. We both want clean air, a better world for our children. Clara considered his words, the vision they had shared beginning to spark again. But everything felt overwhelming. How could she join him in such a turbulent sea? Together? She finally asked, testing their connection against the tumult. Caleb nodded. You two have a chance if you're willing to risk it. But it's going to be dangerous. Suddenly, Clara reached for Ethan's hand, a sense of unity blossoming. No more secrets. No more running. She took a deep breath, courage buoying her. It was time to reclaim her voice. Let's face this together. As she spoke, the weight of years of exhaustion, of doubt began to lift, revealing a richness of possibility. A sense of clarity formed in her heart, the one she sought for so long. Ethan's eyes softened. I'm so grateful you're here, Clara. I'll fight for us. Caleb offered a nod of encouragement. But you both need to act fast. The longer we wait, the more exposed you'll be. As the clouds shifted overhead, casting brave beams of sunlight through the darkness, Clara embraced the raw truth. Her dreams were worth fighting for, but so was the future she wanted to build for her children. Okay, she said, resolve hardening in her voice. Let's take the first step. We'll strategize, gather evidence, and confront this head-on. The three of them stood there, united against the storm swirling around them. Hope flickered like a candle in the dark, igniting a fire within Clara's heart. With a final glance at Ethan, Clara smiled, feeling the strength of their bond wrap around her like armor. Let's make this count. As the park grew alive with the sounds of laughter and life, Clara knew that despite the uncertainty ahead, they had a chance. They had chosen to face the truth together, no longer bound by fear. The shadows of their past could not hold them back. With determination in her heart, Clara stepped forward, ready to embrace whatever lay ahead. Love might still flourish, even in the most chaotic of situations. Underneath it all, this was a fight for family and for brighter tomorrows. Join Clara on her transformative journey. You need to subscribe to this channel immediately so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to fuel the algorithm. It makes a real difference. And comment your thoughts and feelings about this intense ending. Finally, share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second.